This is going to be going over the general setup for the best Rift team. We've got Sereniel, Selena, and Cassius, with your first team just being whatever you want. There's a lot of improvements I could make to this team, to be honest. I think I'm kind of just missing a ton of damage for no reason, and it's preventing me from getting the super high scores. But we'll talk about why my decks are bad, how the actual fight goes, and the fight itself is super long, so I'll probably speed it up and just voice over it, and I'll also skip over some sections that are just waiting. For my team, I'm E2 on my Serenial, though I do only have one Pekko. Ideally, you would have all three. If you find yourself needing more ego manifestations for your Serenial or more Pekkos, because ideally all three people would be on Pekko, then you should definitely make sure to check out the discounts on lootbar.gg. No matter what you're looking to pick up, Lootbar provides it fast, secure, and at a more affordable price, with 24/7 customer service and refunds guaranteed. If you haven't gotten your double crystals yet, buying it on Lootbar can save you up to $30 if it's your first purchase. Lootbar has been providing deals for games for years, giving them over 30,000 reviews on Trustpilot with an average rating of 4.9. New users can currently get 2 coupons for an additional 12% and 8% off their purchases, so make sure to click on the link below and sign up now. Now let's go over the save datas. I'm skipping over the first team because it really doesn't really matter what you do here, it's just any half-decent team. Starting off with Serenial, or your items, I did get very lucky with Inflect of Discord. Your alternatives is Mutagenic, works great here since you have so many status cards that you're drawing, it's going to ramp up the damage quite a bit. There's also Foggy Crystal Ball, and of course the Dopamine, the draw effect, since that works no matter who draws. For your epiphanies, try to remove all the basics if you can. If you don't hit Mutant Sample, it can be pretty expensive. Otherwise, just remove them all if you can. Leave one of the attack basics if you really need to. Homing Laser Epiphany, you definitely want the one that moves to your hand at the start of the turn, because that's 4 less cards you have to draw, or 3 if you only have 3 copies. And the thing that gates you the most in this fight is going to be draw. It's not really going to be AP. You're going to get so much AP from breaking the enemy, especially once you start scaling higher and you start killing the enemy, because when you kill him, he comes back with his full tenacity bar and you can just ravage him again, and that's another free AP. Besides that, it really depends on how strict you want to be. I think bare minimum, you definitely want to create 2 Homing Laser Shining Core. This is a little bit hard to manage because you have to try and make sure that you don't overflow too many homing lasers into your next turn. Otherwise, if you have too many homing laser L's in your draw pile, it can ruin your cycling a little bit. But this, plus, I think these 2 are the epiphanies that you definitely want no matter what. For Plasma Missile, I like this one just because it deck thins, really. The other one that gives you 60% damage on your homing lasers is higher damage, but you're probably not going to be able to play this that early. There's a chance that this just gets put to the back of your deck. It's really inconsistent, and also because this deck thins, I prefer this one if you can. Otherwise, you can just pick whatever. I think this is one of the lower priority ones. Cobalt Light, same thing. It's kind of not super high priority what you get. The Ravage one is kind of nice because Cobalt Light plus any card will ravage the enemy. So you can have some situations where, of course, with Tenacity refreshing with Selena, but you could play all of your homing lasers and then just do a 000 plus a Cobalt Light and that ravages. And you could have a lot more hand space that way. One more thing is, after you ravage with this card enough times, it decreases to 0 cost. So it will count as a 0 cost card for Cassius's quest. And then other ones that are kind of useful, there's the Neutral Epiphany that's draw 2, which is really nice. Pretty rare, but if you do hit it, that one's really good. Because, I mean, it costs 3 AP, but like I mentioned, AP shouldn't be too big of an issue. It might depend a bit on your setup. But it does give you 2 draw, which is really important. I think 3 AP for 2 draw is pretty worth it, assuming you can sustain it. Pale Shooting Star, I mean, this is because I'm E2, and this is the E1 effect. The 5 homing laser proc is just useful because the homing lasers that you play with this card or activate with this card count towards the Cassius quest, which is just nice. Ambush sucks, don't pick this up. I don't like this card because I think especially if you have 4 homing lasers plus the create Shining Core, it just kind of like overflows your hand. It's definitely manageable, but I found myself not really liking this card that much. For potential, I just have her like this. Memory fragments. She has my second best DPS set. Partner, I have her on Yuri. My Pekko is on Cassius. And then Ego, of course, I am E2. And the E2, I get 2 Homiliers at the start of the battle, plus I get to draw 1 extra card, and this is very useful because draw is the main thing that's holding you back during this fight. And then we have 5 instead of 3 homing lasers activated with Pale Shooting Star. Next up, I'm going to jump over to Cassius. My Cassius is E4, and then for his save data, this is pretty decent, honestly. I didn't hit Foggy Crystal Ball, unfortunately, so I have the backup here, the Dopamine Injector. The Double Dice dupes aren't that useful. It's just because I didn't get anything else. Ideally, you would dupe Joker, and that's just because, like I mentioned, the hardest thing about this fight is draw. Getting the cards that you need when you need them. Joker lets you just pick out the cards that you need immediately. Helps out a ton. This is definitely the best thing to dupe. Ideally, this would be 3 Jokers, I think is your ideal setup. Though a Double Dice dupe, not the worst thing. It was pretty cheap, so I just picked it up. It still counts as a 0-cost card. For the Popeye Popper, you can honestly do whatever. There's like 3 versions of this that work okay, I think. You could do the stronger quest card, just because it's higher damage. It can help loop you into the pseudo-infinites faster. Which, okay, honestly, I mentioned the pseudo-infinites, but I probably won't go super in detail on that, just because anybody doing that is like in the front page. Initiation, if you don't mind resetting, then you just play this card immediately. Or you can just use Choose, so you don't have to reset at all. It's just, you might get really bad RNG and not be able to play this card immediately. You definitely want to play this card early. Double Dice. I think Draw 2, Discard 2 is honestly super nice, and then Backup is the 0-cost one. And then Shuffle, this one is one of the cards that doesn't really matter. My personal preference is this one, where you just draw 5, because if you just play this as your very last card, it's just a free draw 5. Sometimes it can work out very, very nicely, otherwise it doesn't really matter. The discard ones for Shuffle, by the way, if you can just like discard your homing lasers or something. Dice Trick, there are a couple of options. Generally, you're gonna go for this one, just because, so the fight punishes you for healing. If you play more than 1 heal in a turn, you're going to kill yourself. You only get to play 1 1-1-1. There is a way around this to an extent. Otherwise, the 1-1-1 is just going to clog your hand and you just live with it. The bigger thing is the Full House. It's really, really hard to cycle through your entire deck without Full House, especially considering that you're going to be overflowing a couple of homing lasers here and there, and you're going to have extra cards just in your deck. You're going to have to draw more than your full deck, pretty much. And Full House is amazing for that. It's insanely RNG, like even more RNG than it already is, to draw your full deck if you don't have the Full House from the random quest. Just because sometimes all your draw cards get shoved to the back of your deck. What you're going to do. And we already talked about Joker. It's your copy prio. Portrait of Fury, I think it's mandatory. Since Cassius is, Cassius you don't need much. It's literally get a decent Popeye Popper, get the quest card Dice Trick, and then do whatever you want for the rest. I would highly recommend farming out Portrait of Fury, just because you need the draw, and he's the easiest character to farm of the 3. So if you're going to get a portrait somewhere, it might as well be here, and then try to get a confiscation if you can too. The armor, it doesn't really matter. If you can get Wings of Freedom somehow, that's really nice. Keep in mind with Sereniel E2, anything that, the rocket adorned cape is useless. Anything that draws at the start of battle doesn't really do anything if you have her E2 with 4 homing lasers already. Because you actually overflow your hand, because you also Gen 2 more lasers. Next up, the Memory Fragments. He should be on your best set. He is your primary damage dealer, so just give him your best set of DPS gear. And partner, I also have him on Pekko, because controllers don't really have good partners, so even without this whole effect here, the base attack plus the overclock on Cassius is really, really nice, and Sereniel's got a great backup in Yuri. So now let's take a look at Selena. I gave her Rosaria, just because you get a few morale from playing your skill cards. Also, this acts as a quick draw. Also, Yuri, the draw is really nice, I forgot to mention. Remember my fragments, I just kind of gave her whatever because my Selena doesn't have a good save data. She's the one that's holding me back for the most part. I'll talk about in a little bit. So I just gave her whatever. She's like on like my 3rd DPS gear. Actually, probably not even that. She's probably lower, but she should ideally be like on good DPS gear too with extra attack. And for egos, I do have her E6. So now, or potentials, I haven't like touched her at all because I don't have the what is it, the proper like save data for her. If I did, then I would probably unlock this, maybe level these a little bit, and so on. So let's go to the save data and talk about why this is not fantastic. So the tactical maneuver, great. The AP is actually kind of nice, especially in like sometimes you just have a lot of expensive cards and you have to play them all, and it kind of sucks if you don't have AP. This is too many though. Keeping both of these basics sucks. I mentioned that draw is like the main thing that's holding you back, and having to draw into these cards and then play them like, really sucks. So this kind of like negates 2 of these APs. This drone bombing being non-epiphanied, and either the 0 cost one, or the best one is this one. When performing an attack weakness, chance to coordinated attack on the target gives you a bunch of damage instead, or if you can't get this, the upgrade one is nice just to thin your deck. It doesn't like do anything, but it thins your deck. I have a non-epiphany one, and this is completely useless, so that kind of sucks. So basically like 3 of my AP is just completely negated, and then I basically have like 1 AP. Ideally, I would have removed both of the basics, but the divines, there's no way to reject divines, unfortunately. This is also the wrong one. This one is bad. Ideally, you want this one here. When another combatant's attack card is used, 100% coordinated attack for 1 turn. This is going to end up being a lot of damage. Selena is doing a lot of damage in this fight. You can't underestimate how much damage she is putting out due to this card. It really does like contribute a lot to getting into good rotations, especially near the very end. And me not having this epiphany is what's holding me back, I think. So I don't want to refarm. Other backups, it's just the upgrades to the deck then. That's why I took the Bark one. And then, I mentioned drone bombing already. For target spotted, ideally, you want the on Ravage 200% coordinated attack. It's not huge, but the other effects all suck, and this thins out your deck. And tactical maneuver, there's only one option. It's the 0 cost if the target is in the Ravage state. Recharge tenacity. There's literally nothing else for you to use. This is by far and away the best one. So that is it for the characters. The thing that's really holding me back is just somewhat the ambush, I think, is making things rough. And then Selena having the 2 basics plus the wrong high-powered scope and somewhat the wrong drone bombing is very, very not good. And plus, like, her weapon sucks, but it is what it is. I do think Fragment into Empty Void is really, really nice, though. This is highly recommended just because your Sereniel overflow is gonna, like... You overflow your hand just by being E2 if you have 4 homing lasers. And being able to, like, move around your starting hand a bit helps a ton. I always toss out Sniper's Domain at the very start, just because you want your first turn to be a little bit better than that. But that is it for the stats and everything. I'll play a fast, sped up version of the run and talk about it. At the very beginning, I'm probably just going to play at normal speed, because the turns actually go decently fast. The very start, it's the later ones that take a while. At the very beginning, our draw is pretty lucky. We hit tactical maneuver, which is all you can really ask for. So I toss out homing laser, a sniper's domain. I kept a homing laser L's because they have exhaust too. Getting the Joker is perfect RNG, honestly, because now that means I can draw whatever I want. We just take the Popeye Popper and we can play it, and we hit another tactical maneuver too. So our first turn will be looking decent at least. We still have a couple more stuff to play, so just play all your homing lasers, get the break, and you can, or I can play 1 extra tactical maneuver, or 0 here without ravaging, so might as well do that to free up hand space. And then we'll ravage here, get all of our cards back. And then now I'm just trying to play this in a way that I don't brick my hand. That Shining Core is going to give us 2 homing lasers, which we'll have to play around as well. At the very start, you're pretty much just trying to get all of your upgrades out of the way. And the important thing with this fight is you just want to try and kill the boss as many times as you can. To set up for your later turns, really, a lot of your damage, well, because of the scoring cap, technically a lot of your damage comes at the very start, but most of your important turns come at the very end, and you're just trying to set up for it. One thing is especially, that ambush is really bad, but you're generating 2 lasers every time you ravage, and then you're moving at, like, you probably have overflow homing lasers, and you're moving them all into your hand. Make sure you try and play the 000s before you ravage, so that you'll have hand space. Playing, like, so here, like, I draw, I think that's like, I draw 10, yeah. One other thing is, like, before you refresh Tenacity, with Selena playing, like, cards so you have good, proper management is also a thing. Make sure you keep track of your quests. So this first turn was whatever. A proper setup would have you drawing your whole deck, but it is what it is. We got our upgrades here, though, and we finally get our Portrait of Fury. Pretty good RNG overall again, just because we got a tactical maneuver. And here we got our first 000. So you do want to play at least 1 heal on your turns, just because you can get your counterfeits, and then if you ravage the boss and then just re-ravage it, you'll be able to play them for free, and they'll count towards Cassius' quest, which is why Cassius ends up being so ridiculously strong. My hand is full here, which kind of sucks, but I have exactly 4 homing lasers, and we're going to refresh his Tenacity in a little bit. I actually played 1 card too many, I just don't feel like going back, so we'll deal with that later. Ideally, I would have played my portrait already, but we want to do it at 8 cards, and we don't have 8. I'm not going to draw now, because we're going to ravage here. So we can play 1 more 000. I'm pretty much using the entire Tenacity bar, trying to free up space in my hand. And now at this point, we have Portrait of Fury. That 111 is very unlucky, and the way you can do that is if you undo your last action, this will take longer and longer the later you are in the Rift. I think generally you want to save this for the very end, because your important turns at the very end. Play a 000, or I think any card that doesn't count towards the Cassius quest works, and then play a homing laser, and you can change it like that. The full house is going to be one of your main methods for cycling through your deck. Another way is, if you have no way around, like, if your hand is full, and you are near full, you could play your, like, card so that you only have space for 1 more card, and only the 000 would go into your hand, is another way to manipulate your quest cards. You can see the counterfeits like that. I had 9 space. It forces only the 000 into my hand. I don't get anything else. So I probably did want another card there. So that is another thing to keep in mind. Make sure you have space for 2 cards when you are actually trying to get stuff like the God, what is it called? Like the full house for more draw. So checking my tactical maneuvers. That Cobalt is 3 cost, but it's a little bit hard to play it right now. Here we get more draw and play the double dice. We get a confiscation. This is where that shuffle comes in handy, the draw 5-1. Just because if I play it at the right time, I would just get a free 5 draw. So we can refresh here. Then we get our full house. Now we drew into our shuffle, which is really nice, so we'll be able to play that in a little bit. Here I'm trying to decide if I want to free up hand space or save the AP for later, but just gonna free up the hand space, be able to draw one more homing laser. And playing that confiscation was kind of a mistake. Should have just played 2 homing lasers, because now I don't have space for my second quest card. Now we don't have a ton of damage yet. Later on, especially once you kill the boss, each time you kill the boss, he will give you more and more counterfeits when you play a healing card. So that's why you want to kill him a bunch. Later on your turns, you'll be able to just get a ton of counterfeits, which just gives you a bunch of quest cards for free, pretty much. And that's like why the scaling gets so wonky at the very end. So at this point, I think we've pretty much covered how the fight works. You use the rewind whenever you hit triple 1. If you've already played one, just try and cycle through your whole deck. You ravage him and whatnot. I'm just gonna speed through the rest of the fight, though I'll stop at some points and explain any important things, which I'll also tag in the video, so you can just jump to the next section if you want. And then the most important turn is gonna be the last turn, pretty much. Alright, so here's a good point for explaining the kill mechanic. Here, we have a Tactical Maneuver, and we also have some triple zeros and homing lasers. You want to gauge your damage, pretty much, and see whether or not you can kill the boss and also re-ravage him after he dies. The Pale Shooting Star is a free ravage, so we're just trying to see whether or not we can either kill him, or, in this case, we don't have enough damage to kill him. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to refresh his tenacity here, and then we can just ravage him with Pale Shooting Star, and then this will break his bar, and then he'll die immediately, and then he'll have a full bar again, and we can just ravage him again with our homing lasers that we just drew from the ravage. And ideally I would have played the 000 too, but I think I was worried I was going to kill him. He comes back here and we have a bunch of the homing lasers. Ideally, the Pale Shooting Star wouldn't actually kill him there, so we could free up some hand space, but your turns aren't always going to be perfect, you just gotta live with it. So pretty much this is how you can get free ravages, and this is something that will occur much more frequently later on in the fight. So here's a kind of interesting part. I reset here, and it's not because I like draw 000 or anything. So I go and check my deck, and I realize that I played one too many 000s. And that is because the way the counterfeits work is they decrease their cost when you ravage. So I want to play that 000. I haven't played one yet this turn. I want to play the 000 and generate the confiscates, or the counterfeits, before I ravage him here. Ideally, I would have also played the devil dice a little bit earlier, just to see what card I managed to draw, but I don't want to rewind that far back. But this way I put the counterfeits in my deck, and then I'll ravage him after, then the cost will decrease, and with any luck, we'll manage to draw the tactical maneuver to refresh his tenacity, and then we'll be able to use the counterfeits as 0-cost engines for our 000 quest. And you can see he's doing a lot of these screams. There's 10 of them. So he's finally done. We can ravish him here. We get all of our homing lasers back. We can play a couple of them. Either we can get a full house or we can use double dice. Got the full house here. And with pretty much perfect RNG, you get a tactical maneuver. And now we have a bunch of after we refresh the tenacity and re-ravage him, we'll have a bunch of zero cost counterfeits for us to work with in our draw. Now we're coming up on the final turn. You can see my second to last turn did not go fantastic. I have 31 cards in my draw pile, and I don't manage to actually play any of them because of bad RNG. Didn't get any full houses. It is what it is. There is one upside to this, which is that I currently have a ton of zero cost confiscations in my draw pile, which means that my final turn will get a bunch of extra morale for free, pretty much. And I'll just play the final turn on normal speed. So here's all my counterfeits, and we have our 4 homing lasers, so we can pretty much instantly ravage him. And you get to see all of those zero cost counterfeits there. And at this point, we have the option of intentionally keeping our hand size at 9, but because I do want to try and get a 111 in, I'm going to try and make sure I have space to accept the 111 when I play my zero costs. Though right now, there's nothing I can really do. And playing the counterfeits early also does let you start stacking some morale, which is pretty useful. We got a Joker, which is really nice. Now we can pretty much guarantee to get a card that we want later. You can play your homing lasers so long as you have enough to ravage. Play your homing lasers and 000s to keep your hand free. The ambush, keep in mind the ambush doesn't give you afterglow, so you have to be careful while playing that. So I put the homing laser there because you can just play the ambush last and you'll still ravage fine. Alternatively, 3 000s is worth a homing laser, pretty much. Now I got Pale Shooting Star. Remember, the Pale Shooting Star just obliterates the entire Ravage bar, so I can play all my homing lasers now, pretty much, and fish for a, well, I can play all my homing lasers and fish for a 111. We got a 111 here, and because I have my Joker, this means that it doesn't matter, like, I'm not at risk of drawing the high-cost counterfeits. I can just Joker and grab my tactical maneuver and get all those counterfeits down to 0 cost. And we gotta sit through his little animation of doing the Destruction and Urge 11 times. But we can play these homing lasers to free up hand space, and then the last 000 for even more hand space. We can just refresh his Tenacity bar and then hit him with Pale Shooting Star. And I still have some cards in my discard pile because I did not manage to draw through my entire deck the previous turn. And we'll also play 000 here just for even more hand space. We gotta make sure we hold enough homing lasers to, I also messed up there. I should have played a 000 before playing the homing lasers, so that I would be able to get an extra quest card. But we gotta make sure we have enough homing lasers to ravage the enemy. We can Joker, go grab our tactical maneuver. So one thing here is because I know I have some cards in my discard pile too. I was just checking where my base copy was. My base copy was in my discard pile, so I grabbed it from there instead. And for hand space purposes, you can either play a homing laser or you can play some 000s before I refresh the tenacity bar. And you're always going to get at least one 000 while playing like the homing lasers, but I decided to zero out my 000s here. Now we can refresh. And he's getting pretty close to dead, so we do have to try and manage this a little bit. At this point, we're very much hoping that we manage to get a full house, so that we can keep on drawing our other 33 cards. We get one full house here, and we hit a counterfeit. So now we've got a bunch of 0 cost cards that will hopefully lead into each other. It's all 0 cost cards in there with a good bit of draw. And because we do want to get the full house, remember, we're going to try and make sure we have enough space to get the extra quest card. So now this boss is about to die. 3 homing lasers and 3 000s is going to be enough to ravage the boss. So we can kill him here pretty much, and then just re-ravage him. It might have been better for hand space to kill him with a homing laser there instead of a 000, but... I opt to do the last homing laser last, just so I can clear out my entire hand. Just checking how many cards I have left. We got another full house. We draw another counterfeit. And since we got Cobalt Light, and we know Cobalt Light plus any card ravages, it's we can pretty much just play all our homing lasers now. We got our tactical maneuver, which is great. We can refresh his tenacity, and then just go ahead and get all of our homing lasers back, and hopefully we get some draw out of it. Tactical one is a little bit unlucky. We're just gonna try again. Since I saved all my sands for the very last turn, I was trying to enter a specific infinite, which I actually didn't really end up entering. You're going to see a lot of resetting at this point. It also would have been fine to, like, do it on that second to last turn, where I drew a bunch of triple ones and I really needed a draw or a full house. I think at this point I just gave up on trying to remove that triple one for some reason. Also, this is just a really badly managed turn, because I probably could have played that in a way that made it so I ravaged him without, or I actually do ravage him, but I have to kill him here. And my hand isn't fully bricked because we have Sereniel's ego skill, which is gonna flood our hand with the homing lasers again. Here we have a bunch of homing lasers, so we can see what we get. We got a full house, which is nice. We hit a confiscation and we can start rolling again. So here, I still have a bunch of cards to draw. A lot of them are confiscations, yes, but if they weren't like all confiscations, or if they were all confiscations and I had nothing in my discard pile, I would probably just leave my hand mostly full. Yeah, but because I need full houses, we have to do the whole reset thing for 000, or for full house rather. And there, you can see I abused the trick where, with the full hand, because I had no way, I had like no other cards to play, my only choice was to just play the confiscation instead of a homing laser, so I would have no space to accept the triple one. Which is one way you can also manage your hand if you really need to. And again, triple one, so... We'll play 000, and we'll play the counterfeit again. We're getting pretty close to killing the boss too, so ideally we'd be able to kill him and then ravage him again. We have no EP left, so nothing to really work with in that department. Getting all these 000s is great, because if we can just get one more decent draw, we're gonna be fine. When we hit a full house too, these 000s are enough for us to kill the boss. And those counterfeits are enough for us to get more 000s, and we can ravage him again. So he's back. We'll hit 111, so we gotta reset real quick. But we're able to ravage him now, pretty much. We can just gotta replay the cards real quick. And we still have, but I've been maxed the tenacity bar, so we'll play one more 000.
派手にこんなのはどうだい。裏か表かもう一度振ってみようか。派手にこんなのはどうだい。裏か表かもう一度振ってみようか。派手に行こうかね。
Now we shuffled our discard pile back into our hand, and you can see we have like a billion AP from managing to kill the boss so many times. We have one more tactical maneuver in there, which hopefully we'll be able to draw soon. And there's a 1-1, which is not what we were trying to draw. So here I kind of mess up. I realize it because I go look at my portrait, but I should have played my portrait the previous turns. I had 8 cards. Now I don't necessarily have enough cards to ravage the boss afterwards because I would need 2 more 000s. But we do have 3 homing lasers, so with a little bit of RNG, if we hit either another 000 or a full house on our quest card, then we should be fine. Pretty much straight or 1-1 won't work. Which we hit 1-1, so let's go back. I could, of course, worst case scenario, I play the portrait here, but we got a second 000, which is just enough for us to ravage him again. We have 8 cards, so we'll play portrait, draw the rest of our hand. All the useless Selena cards. So we break here, and he's pretty close to dead. So we should be able to kill him and ravage him again. I misplayed here a little bit. I should not have killed him with the 000 there. Probably should have played some of my homing lasers and then finished them off with the 000, free up more hand space. So I wasted a decent bit of cards doing that, probably like a few. So we're pretty much finishing up the fight at this point. And this is a good point, I guess, to talk about the pseudo-infinite that I can't actually manage to reach because of my Selena epiphanies. Not sure if I'll bother trying to refarm it, but the idea behind the pseudo-infinite is that in this sort of situation, if you have enough morale so that when you play your cards to ravage the boss, and then use your 000, you'll be able to kill the boss. This way you can kind of enter a loop of play your homing lasers, ravage, play your 000, kill. Then the boss dies, comes back with the full tenacity bar. You play your homing lasers, ravage, get your homing lasers back. You play your 000, kill the boss, and you just keep on doing that over and over again. Now this is not a true infinite because in the scenario that you keep on drawing 111, then you would run out of hand space. You're not going to be able to really sustain the infinite, and that is the pseudo infinite that you could do. But because I'm missing so much damage from not having those Selena epiphanies, I don't even really come close to it. I get like somewhat close, but it's not happening this run, so we'll have to settle for this instead, which is still good enough for top 100 for now at least.